Good evening. I'm Father Russ Carmichael, and this is Street Talk. I got a great show for you tonight. Sitting across from me, as always, the troublemaker, Dominic Cotton, my co-host, and we're going to talk about mayoral elections. And I got a great lady with me tonight. She's running for mayor of Bridgeport, Mary-Jane Foster, of the famous Fosters. Now, I was teasing Mary Jane. How you doing? Great to see you.
Great to have you.
Okay. And Dominic, good to have you back. I was teasing you, obviously, because of the Jodie Foster thing,
Sure.
but you've got a serious background in commercials and stuff like that, so your face could be well recognized, right? E.F. Hutton?
Yeah. Please don't squeeze the show. Bring around the collar. 22 years an actress.
22 years
I had
an
a
actress.
wonderful time.
I spent 72 years being an actor.
All the world's a stage.
Yeah, there we go.
you go.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
You're running for mayor.
Yes, I am.
Bridgeport.
Yes.
Why?
Because Bridgeport deserves better than it's gotten. You know, we're 16 square miles. We should be able to wrap our arms around that city, give it a hug, and make it a new place. And every time the economy moves, every time good things begin to happen, we shoot ourselves in the foot. And it's time to get rid of career politicians. It's time to elect somebody who's gotten it done in the private sector, who understands how to govern, and can move the city forward. And we don't have that. Instead, we have two career politicians. One can't get a job, one's desperate to keep his job. And it's time for somebody to walk right up the middle and take it over.
Well, you know, your town's like really, it's like my town. You know what I mean? I should be running for mayor where I am in New London. But you know what? You guys got an ex-convict running down there.
We do.
What's his name?
His name is Joe Ganam.
Yeah.
And he was convicted on 16 of 23 counts of public corruption, shaking developers and subcontractors down for payment.
So, you know,
He set our city back probably, we haven't recovered from the loss of reputation yet, yet.
I was going to say Steel Point. I mean, this should have happened
Steel
somewhere
Point with an E,
back
not
in,
an A.
back in the 90s.
Well,
it shouldn't have taken this long.
Oh, absolutely.
To be able to develop.
But the accusation is that he was demanding $1 per square foot from the developer.
My kind of guy. And all my, you know,
Yeah.
father's an ex-convict, you know.
There you go.
Boston organized crime in the 60s, right? Extortion. I was
Yes.
convicted of extortion, bookmaking, loan sharking. This guy sounds like one of my brothers.
Maybe you're related.
We might be. I mean, I don't get this, okay? I did know a little bit. I read, we had an article in New London. You know, the guy's done 7 years. He's done 7 years for government corruption, stuff like that. He's out 5, just 5, okay? I don't know what he's been working at, okay? Needs a job, but you don't, as an ex-convict myself, you don't put the man back in to the kind of crime factor that he come out of.
I agree.
That is insane. I mean, that would be like making me head of the counting house for the Armored Cars Service. You know, come on, give me a job. I mean, that's ridiculous. Now, I've been out a lot of years, and I don't believe anybody should be in those kind of jobs for at least 5, minimum 10. But I don't believe. It's like rolling. No offense to these guys, and we've had in Massachusetts. You know, I'm a Boston, politician stuff. We've had the same kind of thing. But when you've committed crime in the public sector in a fiduciary position, you don't belong going back in that business.
I agree.
I'm sorry.
There are many ways to serve the public good, and elected office is just one of them. There are so many other ways to serve the community. And this is a guy, again, convicted of 16 out of 23 counts of public corruption. He didn't come back into the community and say, how can I help? Where can I serve? What can I do? Right. Instead, he came back and said, I want to be mayor. You know, I get the forgiveness thing. We lost our business as a result of this guy's pay-to-play schemes, and I forgave him. I forgave him because it was good for me to do, and it's the right thing to do. But forgiveness is a gift. Redemption is something you earn. And he has not earned redemption, in my view. He just hasn't.
You said, Don, he's a lawyer, right?
Yeah, he went and tried to get his law license back, and basically was turned down.
The bar said no?
He went.
Well, if the bar said no, why is this guy running?
Well,
is he crazy?
here's the thing to understand about law licenses. I'm an attorney. We take the ethics very, very seriously in our work.
I know.
So that if you were a lawyer and you bilked a little old lady out of a painting, or you stole $10,000 from someone, you would be disbarred. You would not be allowed to practice law ever again. This is a guy who robbed a city of 140,000 people of its future. So why ever would he get his law license back? It's pure hubris to think you could get your law license back. Really?
It's arrogant to run.
Well, it is.
And I saw the police was supporting this guy. I mean, I started to write some. I was up in New London and I read about this, and I was fortunate that Dominic talked to you when you would come on the show, because I read that. I said the police are supporting. So are they going to stand in the office and watch him write checks on and stuff like that? I mean, why? That's the other thing that really bothered me. You know, I could not imagine. And I know the heads of my police unions here, and I actually know the administrators, and I would not. I can't believe that they would support somebody like that.
Well, I can tell you, it's not uniform. The police endorsed me 4 years ago when I first ran.
Rank and
and
file.
I have many friends
Right.
in the police department. I have huge respect for our Bridgeport police. But I will tell you, this is much more about the failure of the incumbent than it is about Joe Ganam.
Oh, okay.
If you have a mayor that's raised taxes 4 times in 7 years, if you have a mayor who engaged in a conspiracy to have the state take over our Board of Education, who then went to Hartford and said democracy doesn't matter, then you understand how a door could open for someone else to come in. He is a failed mayor, absolutely a failed mayor.
Well,
and the police feel it keenly. We are about to have the lowest police force in memory, lowest number of police officers in memory. 330 officers by the end of July for the Connecticut's largest city. It's outrageous.
This is as bad. This is actually maybe worse than what Finuzio's done.
Finuzio and Finch are very close.
My God!
Well, there you
in
go.
name and very close in capabilities.
I'm telling you, I wonder where they get these guys. These people are scary in the face of violence, in the face of corruption. I mean, I have the same thing. Okay, and I'm hoping to God that Passero gets in and stuff like that. We have the same thing, smaller in retrospect because of the population, but the same thing. Okay, and I look at that as corruption. There's got to be corruption in there, and it seems like nobody can get at it. When you have reductions in police force, when you have failings, you're gonna try to elect a guy who's an ex-convict because of a failure that's been there for 7 years. Well, thank God we got an alternative.
I have great faith in the people of Bridgeport, and I don't believe that they are going to re-elect Joe Ganam. I just don't believe that's going to happen.
Okay.
Bridgeport's a wonderful city, and its residents, you know, we're gritty, we're tough, we dust it up every now and then.
Yeah.
But Bridgeport is largely a middle-class city where people go to work every day, they do the right thing every day, and I'm generalizing, but I believe the people of Bridgeport understand what's on the line here. You do not re-elect someone who has robbed you of your future. You just don't do it. Because people understand that if we re-elect Joe Ganam, developers will not be coming into Bridgeport. Hartford will not be sending more money to Bridgeport. No one is going to trust this guy, ever. And Bridgeport deserves so much better. You know, we're 16 acres. We have water, we have rail, we have the only north-south interstate.
Interstate, I mean, potentially it's huge.
Well, I always say I'm tired of being from the city with so much potential. Time to turn it around.
Well, I think the biggest thing that you look at is, and this is the same in New London, it's stability. If you don't have stability, why would a business want to come here?
Sure.
I mean, you can create opportunities and everything else, and you can give away the house to be able to suck people in, but if you don't have stability, people who aren't getting these big, dollar payouts aren't going to want to come into the city.
That's right. No.
You need to know how to build jobs, and I know that you know how to build jobs.
I've done it.
I was just going to say, I know that, right? And you need to tell the people, okay? That's the key.
Well, the decision we made when we developed the ballpark and the arena in Bridgeport and brought the Bridgeport Bluefish to town, we made a decision to buy locally, to hire locally. So for instance, we didn't even get competing bids. We went to Globe Equipment and we bought all of our concession equipment in Bridgeport. Instead of going to North Dakota where the scoreboards were made, we stayed with Translux in Norwalk. Our graphic designers, our accountants, our attorneys, everybody was Bridgeport based. So the revenue stayed in
home.
Bridgeport.
Right.
We hired almost 200 people, 90% of them were Bridgeport residents. Was it a full-time permanent job? No, it was seasonal. But once the arena was built, there were people who had year-round part-time work, who had otherwise not been in part of the workforce. And their paychecks stayed in Bridgeport. So that's how you get all of the boats to rise with the tide.
Buy local, build local. That's the way to be local.
Well, you were bringing people back into Bridgeport.
Right.
Sure.
I mean, how many people have gone in, and it's a 10,000-seat arena.
It's a 10,000-seat arena, 5,500-seat ballpark.
Yeah. How many
Probably
people, how many
three-quarters
people
of a
have
million people a year come into Bridgeport.
And if you look at, the rest of what's happened since then, I know you don't currently own...
No.
Is that area could have been developed to be able to get, those people to stay around in that area and do more things or go out to dinner or be involved
Well,
in that.
it all came to a screeching halt with the pay-to-play schemes of Ganam. Everything came to a screeching halt. And the man who succeeded him, John Fabrizi, talks about how very difficult it was to overcome our reputation. And I would argue that we really haven't overcome what happened to us all those years ago, even now. I think it's going to take a complete change. And when people see Bridgeport and our resources and our people, they're going to know we deserve better than what we've had.
Right. You got the building stuff going on down there, right?
Steel Point.
Steel Point, okay? Steel Point. Jobs?
Well, there will be jobs. Bass Pro is coming in. Chipotle and Starbucks, those are minimal number of jobs. But I have real concerns about Bass Pro. For one, I will tell you that the construction jobs down there are not for Bridgeport residents. We don't see minorities there. We don't see Bridgeport residents there. We just don't see that in the construction. Bass Pro has been cited for discriminatory hiring practices, so we're going to have to keep a very close eye on how they hire and who they hire.
We always get in discussions about that, about local hiring, local building, keep it in community. We've discussed that several times, well, more than several times on the show. We've discussed it with Bruce Morris, who is the head of the Black and Latino Caucus.
Good guy.
Wonderful man, And we've also talked about that with, I forget the attorney that wanted to put the bill in that Bradley.
From down here.
From down here. Okay, Bradley. And make it mandatory that they had to hire X percentage from, which should be because these people bring in people from out of town.
Well, if you have a mayor who is a leader, a mayor says to a developer, please come, we'll do everything we can to help you and make you successful, but you're going to hire our residents. Absolutely. We've had the highest unemployment in Bridgeport of really any city in the state of Connecticut over the last 7-8 years. So why would we not insist when there's so many, hundreds of millions of dollars going in tax dollars going into the infrastructure and building of Steel Point, why would we not ask that the developers hire our residents?
Of course, keep it home.
Subcontractors as contractors.
Absolutely.
And I know that's one of the bills that Bruce Morris helped to get through was, if you're on a state contract, a certain amount is being set aside for people who are minorities to make sure they get hired on as subcontractors, because that's the kind of jobs that you need people to get into, the trades, to be able to make a decent like middle income, not necessarily like your Starbucks person, serving you. Although I do see good things between Starbucks and the property values going up every time they put one up in your area.
Right.
So can't say all bad about Starbucks.
May it be true, friend.
Yes.
May it be true. May it be true.
But there's big things coming down here, and I don't think everybody quite understands that. You got the ports bill that just went through, so that means that they're going to be digging out, the port.
Fellows from New London understand the importance of a port, and ours is lying fallow, absolutely fallow.
Well, the last one that went out of here was the ones Chiquita Banana. They used to take their bananas off. Now they take them all the way out to Philadelphia because they can't get the big enough boats in here.
Director's Shipyard went bankrupt twice and is gone.
Why,
so there is no
why
industry
can't,
in
I
our
thought
harbor
this
at
was
all.
a deep water. Isn't this a
It's
deep water?
supposed they
Yes,
got to dredge it out.
They
They got to
haven't
dredge it out,
dredging it.
and they got to do the facilities. That's why the port spell, just like New London,
they're not
is
keeping
so
up.
huge.
That's
very
huge.
important.
Right. As well, especially see, most people don't realize how all things affect you. Expansion of the Panama Canal should totally affect our local deep water ports, because you're bringing if people don't understand, you're bringing in huger ships through the canal. The smaller ones could operate off of our ports. That's the way commerce is working, and that's what the potential is. But you need to be ready. That means you need to dig out you should have been dug out, and we've got that coming. We have that coming. A lot of our local people don't understand that, but that's going to be
very
huge.
Important.
Very
to the
important.
state's economy.
And the rail, of course.
Right on the railhead.
Right on the rail. You're on the rail like us. Okay, the governor got the huge money to effectively build the infrastructure, support the new rail from our place all the way up through to the Massachusetts, New England corridor. That is big. That is huge stuff that is happening, and we all should be benefiting locally from that, not to other, not to outside interests. I mean,
Well, I know someplace that you currently work at now, University of Bridgeport, and it seems like the university is very disconnected.
Well, we have a serious problem in that our current mayor, who was actually a one-time employee of the university, is very anti-University of Bridgeport. So, for instance, we contribute about $65 million to the city's economy every year, and we cost the city about $37 million. So the city actually makes money off this very large nonprofit institution of higher education. And as I've said to him, if you don't believe we're contributing, give us our money back. We can spend it educating first-generation college students. I'm so proud to work for the University of Bridgeport. It's an amazing university. We have students from 80 countries around the world. It's like a United Nations, speaking of which. We are one of only 12 universities in the country that is an authorized NGO of the United Nations. We are the only university in the Northeast that is an authorized Peace Corps program in a university. So we're doing amazing things, and we have so much to contribute to a city that's needy. And this mayor will not embrace the university. And the residents of Bridgeport are tired of it. The university educates their kids. We contribute to nonprofit boards. We have
I
service
mean,
in the
it's so
community.
key to have the university connected to the city it comes out of. Michigan is one of the best places
Sure.
to look at that. Okay, top public university in the country. Okay, and that whole community, the development, how the business works, the
Housing.
the wages. I mean, they had minimum wage. God, I don't know how many years that it was around $14 an hour around the university and that thing. It is amazing. I mean, they're a model for other places in the country. You go to certain towns with certain universities, and the place thrives because they use the educational connections within the school, tie it to the university. So, but then you get other places that, for whatever, have that conflict. It just shouldn't be there. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's self-defeating.
It is self-defeating.
Self-defeating.
Right.
The University of Bridgeport could contribute so much more to the city. It's another reason that Bridgeport deserves better.
Yeah, it needs to be welcomed with your governmental structure.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean that's
We work well with everyone in the city but the mayor, and he will have nothing to do with this. It is incredibly short-sighted. It's just another reason
utilizing
why
all your
he needs to go.
resources. You know, I mean, I know the legislature, they just put in where you're going to have steam. It's going to be piped off of Resco.
Oh, we have a fuel cell.
through the downtown. You know, competitive advantage.
Right.
If you don't use your competitive advantage to get people in, then you're having to sit there and pay them to come in.
Sure.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is amazing at what's going on and where you're dealing with all these type of things that have to be have to be fixed, have to come about. Jobs. Okay, we're talking a little bit about jobs at the point, but do you see other areas that you can develop in the city?
Absolutely.
You know,
the university has the only high-tech incubator in Fairfield County, and we never have enough room for entrepreneurs. And Connecticut has got an astonishing number of startup companies and entrepreneurs. And what I would do is repurpose some of our old buildings that have got such great bones and structure into centers of innovation, so that we could attract startup businesses, including for our residents, figure out programs to have our residents start their own jobs, create jobs for other residents, and grow industry that way. It would be new business as opposed to stealing business from someplace else, which is just displacing. It would be creating new business. Yeah. And Bridgeport's history is all about innovation and inventiveness. Whether it's frisbees or the corset or sewing machines, it all came, the bead chain, all came out of Bridgeport.
Come out of Bridgeport, right. Well, again, it's a hub for that type of stuff.
Sure.
And it's got a population. I'm always looking, when we talk jobs, I'm looking for low-entry jobs, okay, that you can start up, that you can build skills with and stuff like that. So many of our people today have lack of skills. The skills are gone. Because of manufacturing moved out, because of other things, because of plumbing turned to plastic, because of you can only train so many. What were they talking about? Welders, okay, there's fields and fields out there that need the kind of stuff that you're talking about.
Absolutely. I've at a couple of different occasions, I've been with Senators Murphy and Blumenthal. We've talked about entrepreneurial efforts, and interestingly, we have many startup entrepreneurs who are in the food business, and there are no commercial kitchens for them. Can you imagine creating a community kitchen where you could have a public market, you could grow things hydroponically, you could can, you could sell.
We actually had Melissa Zabran on, who's from out more our direction, and she was talking about cottage food industries, and she actually passed through a bill to be able to change some of that around so that you
The
don't need a
regulations are
commercial.
very strict.
They actually changed some of them.
Yeah. Oh, great.
So those are the types of possibilities that are out there. But when we talk about some of the big things, and like I said, stability and investment, I mean, they're talking about the East Side Railway Station over at in the Remington area.
No one has seen the feasibility study for that station yet. I'd like to see it. I commuted for 12 years.
There's a big, opportunity there. But, the state's only going to want to come in and help create those opportunities if you got somebody that's not trying to rake everybody over the coals.
That's right.
Every time they come into the city.
That's right.
It's all about leadership. It's the problem that you seem to have down here is exactly the problem that we have. We have in New London. Okay, you need solid leadership. Okay, and if you've got a mayor that isn't a team player, that is backwards in his thinking, or is on another train, or there is an ex-convict that you're not going to trust with coming in. That's the wrong type of leadership. We got a mayor that fouled up. He ran his course. He's done nothing. He tried to, say what other people did, claim kudos for what other people did. Okay, and so you know that your investment is not going to be solidified under this type of leadership. You're not going to go there.
Right.
You're just not going to not going to go there. You've got the exact same problem that hopefully it will be your problem.
I hope so.
And you'll be the witch.
She's got a 50-day platform on what she's going to do when she first comes in here.
I do. My first 50 days I've issued, and you can find it at fosterforbridgeport.com, or you can find it on my Facebook page, Mary-Jane Foster for Bridgeport. And I set forth what I will do in my first 50 days. And it really is about governance. It's about an audit, an operational and fiscal audit, so we know where our dollars are, because we surely don't know where they are now. This is a mayor that's carried something like 60 ghost positions for the last 4 or 5 years. So they never get filled, and he has all of those salaries and all of those benefits, and he just sort of moves that money around wherever he wants to spend it. As a for instance. So we need to know what our budget is.
Right.
We need to wrap our arms around it. We need to figure out how we stop spending more than we take in. And year after year, this guy spends himself silly and then comes back to us and raises our taxes. Not, of course, this year, because this is an election year. So we didn't have a rise in taxes this year. But
he's smarter than Finuzio. Finuzio comes in with a 12.5% tax. Are you going to run for mayor?
Wow.
After taxes raised last year, this was his suggestion, right? So they ran what do you call it?
They
stopped it.
The council basically went through and really did what you're talking about.
Right.
They ripped apart the books.
Well, our city council needs some assistance. They need their own consultants that are independent of the mayor's office.
So
there are independent eyes making these decisions.
Yeah.
The rubber stamp thing has got to go.
That's exactly what Finuzio said. Passero said about the council. That was one of the problems they were having, getting the information from the other side. People don't understand how difficult that is. The mayor controls the finance guy, so the council, they're going to buff the council so the council can't get all the information.
Sure.
Same problem. We have the same problem. Hopefully Passero gets in, that'll end that kind of stuff. But on those things, you're talking exactly the same difficulties. Dealing with a man that gets in office and then can get control with ghost things. We had the police chief. They shot money. One month they shot money. He had this chief of police suspended. For 10 months on salary. Had charges against it. They were all bull crap. She comes back in, she's not even there 2 weeks, and she finds $500,000.
There you go.
$500,000.
Well, we had a city council member who worked for the city who was a serial sexual harasser, and this mayor tolerated it. He was sent home with pay. I think he sat out 3 months the first time around. When the second charges came about, he sat out 4 months. And guess what happened in this election year? He decided, for the good of the city, he would resign from the city council and he would resign from his city job. And don't you just know, he showed up working for a subcontractor at the building of a new school. So the mayor made sure that he landed on his feet someplace else. And that's what our mayor thinks, how seriously he takes sexual harassment. It's unbelievable.
Well, I mean, you're going to cost yourself money.
Yes.
It costs money. When you make management mistakes, it costs you money, and it's going to cost you lawsuits.
Right.
And you don't even have the lawyers in council to be able to hold this. You got to go outside counsel.
I have not yet added up the number of settlements this administration has reached because of poor practices. They've fired people who have sued, and we're either going to win or pose such significant risk of winning that the city has settled suits. We're into the millions of dollars. And that's poor governance.
Just like us. Now, is he an attorney himself?
No.
Oh, okay. See, the problem is we got to, well, he's an attorney, on-the-job training attorney.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay? And he fights every legal argument. That people say you're wrong, and no, he's not. His opinion is opposite. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's the state's attorney or a board that tells him, the labor board attorneys tell him, no, you got to do this. No, he's an attorney. That's, you know, with a big, arrogant ego, just like the guy that you got running here, the ex-convict, who's an attorney.
Right.
Okay. Was an attorney with a huge ego. Okay. And obviously can't get back in the bar, but's going to try to get back in the people's graces. And that really bothers me, because that bothers me more than anything. If I ran, they ain't going to elect me. No, they're not going to elect me because of organized crime. Way back when, because of extortion, stuff like that. Yet they'll almost elect a nutbag like this guy, okay, that's been corrupt
I don't
and
think
stuff
we're
like.
going to elect him.
I hope not.
No.
I
have much more faith in the people of
people
Bridgeport
are
than
really
that.
forgiving, and if you do the right thing, they can take you. And obviously, I have a large constituency, God bless them, that tolerate me and everything else. And they are forgiving. Okay, but obviously not everybody, but most folks are, and that's what I get worried though when things like this, you know, because some people can cry and pull on heartstrings, and people.
Well, this fellow hasn't really shown any remorse. He finally made a speech last New Year's Day where he said he acknowledged that he had made some bad decisions and done some wrong things, but he's never said, I am so sorry for what I did. He has never shown that kind of remorse. And I don't think he has any.
He may not
redemption's in action, and that's the way I look at it.
that's right.
You
Go
know
out and do
what?
something about it.
Father Russ, he did his crimes. He spent 50 years redeeming it by helping out those that don't have for themselves.
Sure.
You know, this guy, he gets out early because he claims he has a substance abuse issue going on. And I'm sure he's probably hanging out, you know, not at the legal bar, but somewhat other bars. And, you know, how does he get away with some of this stuff and just trying to claim this as a part of saying that he's going to redeem himself?
Right.
I mean, the only redemption I see is, you know, from the guy that needs to be paid off is his builder that needs to add another wing to his house. So that's the only one who's getting any kind of redemption here.
Right. Well, there are so many other ways he could redeem himself, and letting the fox back into the chicken coop I just don't think is the way to go.
That would be a serious mistake.
We have a city with lots of needs. There are so many things that he could do for the public good. But why he is doing this to his family's reputation, to the city, is a question so many people ask. Because this is not helpful. Not helpful to the city's reputation. When I owned the Bluefish, getting people from around the state to come into Bridgeport for a baseball game was not easy. We had a terrible reputation. People were afraid if they got off the highway, something terrible would happen to them. So changing the perception is tough enough. But when you have a convicted felon, someone who robbed the city consistently over and over again, over a period of years.
You're going to put him in his mayor.
And who says, I want my old job back. What does that do to the city? To the perception of who we are.
Yeah, who you are.
And we are
right.
so much better than that perception.
Yeah, and it's not.
And we deserve that.
I know, and it's not that you don't have a second chance attitude. In your business, you hired ex-convicts and stuff like you.
I've employed more former offenders than probably anyone in the city of Bridgeport.
So I mean, so you've it's not that.
No, it's not about that at all.
No, it isn't
Not
about that.
at all.
The audit was one of the things. What is another one of the things you might be doing in that first?
Given the lack of transparency and governance in this administration, I would, in the first 50 days, sit with every single department, and we would do, the SWOT training.
Analysis.
What is your strength? What's your weakness?
Right.
What are your opportunities? What are your threats? How can I help?
Right.
I would go across the city and make sure that we were retaining our businesses. I would hire a economic development director who understands sales and marketing so that we consistently market ourselves. Currently, the current mayor is out spending taxpayer money on out-of-state firms, by the way, to advertise that Bridgeport's getting better every day. This is the second campaign he's done. Both campaigns just happen to coincide with an election year. It's not consistent marketing. It's not helpful. It's not about recruiting businesses to Bridgeport. And we need a very consistent initiative. I would also make sure that our city council members have the training that they need. They get the budget about a month ahead of time. Many of them, they're volunteers. These are good people in the community who volunteer their time. Doesn't mean they're an accountant, doesn't mean they're a lawyer. And instead of having an outside consultant who can walk them through the budget so they understand what it is and ask the right questions, it's just laid on them. And then the mayor's own budget director comes and tells them all about it. Ditto the city's attorney's office.
Rubber stamp.
There
rubber
you
stamp.
go. And the city attorney's office has to be blown up. It's amazing. We have huge, absolutely huge outside legal counsel bills. We're paying some attorneys hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And it just is, there's got to be a better way to manage the city attorney's office. So those are a few of the things. I could go on all day.
Oh, obviously the area that I deal with most is poverty and marginalized people. Okay, and obviously from ex-convicts and ex-convict programs and stuff like that. I know Bridgeport has a real problem in the communities in some areas of your community. In fact, I know some people that work in those communities with corrections and stuff. Do you have any kind of plan for that type of stuff?
Well, one of the things that that surprised me are the number. I've been door knocking across the city, and I hear over and over again that our children do not have facilities. They do not have programs. There is not enough for our youth. There certainly are not enough jobs, but there aren't enough programs either. So one of the things we need to do is enhance our nonprofit community so that they can increase their programming. In my 50-day plan, I talk about the grant writing piece of it because there are federal dollars out there for all kinds of things, including these innovation centers. Right. And this administration really has not tapped into those. But you have got to increase your programming for kids. You've got to start when they're young.
Yeah.
That's where you do it. You know, I didn't tell you, and I would like for you to know that I was an actress for 22 years, as you know. But what fundamentally changed my life was my work at what was then the YWCA and is now the Center for Family Justice.
Justice, right.
Working with victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. And I was so struck by their vulnerability and the danger, and also so impressed by the opportunity that they were given by the Center for Family Justice, that I quit show business and I went to law school. I went to law school as a single mother at 42, graduated when I was 45, and I represented victims of domestic violence and sexual assault in all of the matters that they needed representing. So I've been out in the nonprofit community a long time. I know what they can do.
You know the help we need.
And I well understand
right.
the help. I actually worked on the first COPS grant, which brought community policing to Bridgeport, and on the juvenile justice.
And the juvenile justice.
And it was $1 million for juvenile justice in the city of Bridgeport.
Yeah.
And this administration is not capitalizing on those opportunities.
Yeah, we had the same problem. We were trying to bring the programs with Dr. Eisenberg, tried to bring, I believe he has a program in Bridgeport with the juveniles, like part of the juvenile justice thing, where the police the police and the kids get together and stuff like that. I might be wrong, but his program is in 5 cities here in Bridgeport, in Connecticut. Jim Eisenberg and them, they've been working, they've been in the business as long as I've been, and they do fabulous community work.
Well, I think we're beginning to understand that we need to treat our juvenile offenders differently.
Yeah.
More often than not, their issues have to do with violence in the home.
Yeah.
They have to do with being abused or neglected.
Yeah.
And punishing them is not the way to rehabilitation or to creating a place where they can be productive members of our society.
Well, I think it all begins in the school system.
Sure. Well, it begins at home.
It begins at home, and then the school
yeah,
system and how the school system reacts. And
Well, this is a mayor. We have an incumbent mayor who has not fully funded our Bridgeport schools for years now, which is astonishing because he has 2 children in the public schools.
Yeah, see.
But some years ago, we had family resource centers in our poorest of schools. And those family resource, I call them like town greens.
Because I remember,
that's where families could come. They would feel
help,
safe, sharing their problems, asking for help. And they very often were connected to the services that they needed.
Yeah.
And that stabilizes a family, which stabilizes a home, a neighborhood, and then ultimately your city.
Yeah, you get, they were like referral agencies and stuff like that, depending on the one. They were a great resource, and then they went, boom, see you later. Gone. Well, funds. Of course, it's like everything else. It's like funding or not having. You can run a nonprofit and stuff like that, but you need to have the ability of that grant writer that you were talking about that goes out and gets the money and consistently looks for that money. If you don't have that, you're so busy in the putting out fires,
struggling to survive
every day that you just can't make it. I mean, that's we do
good not-for-profits in Bridgeport. I mean, I know I used to work for them. I used to run Goodwill programs.
You were with
the workplace,
right?
They've been innovative.
I served on the board of Career Resources for 6 or 7 years, and we were the most successful welfare to work program in the state, and in fact, we were a model for the nation. I've also worked with a number of alternative to incarceration programs because it's just so important that we give everyone opportunities to be productive.
And there again, you have to work with the court system. You have to have your mayor or your people in the government be key to dealing with the court system. If they're separate and not, and that builds that community relations. It's so key.
Well,
obviously.
a hallmark of this current administration is that they treat the community, they treat the city hall as a fiefdom. And as a result, there's very little interaction. Of course, this is an election year, so we're now seeing the mayor, but over his 7 years, there's been very little community engagement. It's
I can
all
tell you,
about
I've never seen him around.
No, you don't.
You don't.
You don't.
Nope.
And a mayor is elected to lead, and it's the largest city in Connecticut. We deserve better than what we've gotten.
Well, it's not just leadership. It's management. It's proactivity. It's understanding what your problems are. It's like you said. It's going through all your different agencies, and instead of saying, "I'm at the top, you guys need to support me," no, flip it upside down. You're the one that has to support everybody going up, right down to the frontline people.
A key word you just used is proactive. I can give you a really tragic example. Just over a month ago, we had a shooting in Bridgeport that killed one and injured 8.
Gardens, right?
9 people shot.
Yeah.
9 people shot. It was 3 weeks before the mayor had any kind of game plan at all. He did nothing but react. And he should have been there. He should have been with the neighborhood. He should have put immediate police patrols there. Instead, we got a gun buyback program. And do you know what? We didn't even require that you be a Bridgeport resident. We paid people from out of town to come unload their own old guns. Unbelievable. And after 38 members of other communities and law-abiding citizens got paid for their guns, they were out of money. Those are not the things that work.
No.
So
and
community policing works.
Yeah,
we don't have it.
You need to be, and of all places that should have it. I mean, you need to be prepared. I mean, just understanding what the country's been going through and everything else, you would think that your police force was proactive and out there before those things hit. Okay, because we know what's happening all over the country. We know what's happening to poor people and the marginalized, and that stuff follows like a wave.
Sure.
Okay, and you have to be. You have to be up front with that and early on. And if you're not, you get bit real bad. That tragedy was unbelievable.
It certainly was.
And not being ready for that was even worse.
I agree.
Yeah.
And we haven't done anything to really remedy it yet. There is no community policing. If you don't have police in your community that are part of the fabric of your life, how do you turn to them? And it's, by the way, not fair to our police officers.
Well, it's not fair to the police officers, and you're down a huge amount of police officers. I don't know the exact amount, but I do know you're way under the amount.
We're off from about 470, I think, to down to 330.
Right.
You can't protect the
New Haven,
the state's largest city.
Same thing. Hartford they got the same problem. They're down over 100 officers. We're down 30 in our time. I mean, that is so, and that's because of mayors not dealing with the problem, not recruiting. Okay, and
not being proactively to anticipate that all these people were going to retire.
Places, right? I mean,
you need more recruits.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you should have been right on the ball with that. That should have been
Everyone
automatic.
knew 4 years ago that with the shift to the state pensions, our police officers were going to retire earlier. That meant they were healthier. It meant we had more nimble force. But obviously, if it's to their benefit to retire early, they're going to do that. So you start recruiting, and you recruit consistently. This latest class of recruits are not going to be out on our streets for another year. By the time they're trained, by the time they've been acclimated to patrol duty, it will be a year. It's not fair. Bridgeport deserves to be safe.
So basically what you got is a situation where you got total mismanagement of your city by one guy, and then you got the crook that robbed the city coming trying to get back in. Well, I mean, isn't that right? Right? You got total mismanagement, just like Finuzio. No different. The guys are like twins, okay? And then you got a clown who robbed everybody, who says, "Let me come back so I can steal from you again." I mean, that's what he's saying. Because I need a job, and they won't let me come back as an attorney, where I could burn you in the courtroom. Okay, so that's what you got, and you're in between these two guys. Okay, with a voice in the wilderness. Okay.
Well, I don't think it's the wilderness. I don't think it's the wilderness. I think I'm going to walk right up the middle, because you've got a failure in the past,
right,
and you've got a failure in the present,
right,
and we have got to make a change. We deserve better. We deserve someone who will govern honestly and effectively, and I think I can do it, and I think I will.
So now, what happens next within this? I guess there's the
Democratic Town Committee meets tonight and will endorse a candidate. Because I entered the race late, I've asked that my name not be placed in nomination. So those folks who are supporting me, I've said, do what you're going to do tonight and be with me in September for the primary and in November for the general election. And it's a real dogfight. It's a real dogfight. The mayor has been promising jobs and giving people raises, and so he's getting some votes over here, and Joe Ganam has been relentlessly pursuing people, knocking on their doors at night and all sorts of things. So they got a dogfight going on, and we'll just see who gets the endorsement.
Well,
and then tomorrow the petitions will come out. We have a team of volunteers that are ready to hit the road, and we'll get our name on the ballot, my name on the ballot, and we'll be off to the races.
I got about 4 minutes, and that's what I want you to. I want you to tell that constituency out there what you want from them, what's
Well,
needed.
the first thing I'm going to need, beginning tomorrow, are signatures. We need 2,000 signatures to get my name on the ballot.
Right.
So that's what we'll be doing. You always can use people. I call my friends and I say, listen, you can talk to a doorknob. I need you making telephone calls for me.
Right.
So we have lots of volunteers who are in campaign headquarters, which is right in downtown Bridgeport, making calls, introducing me to people across the city by phone.
So you've got a campaign office open.
300 Fairfield Avenue.
300 Fairfield Avenue, right in downtown Bridgeport.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's up and open.
And we've got teams, including me, walking and knocking on doors, introducing myself. It's absolutely amazing. I knock on a door and I say, hi, my name is Mary-Jane Foster and I'm running for mayor, and people say, you've got my vote. I want change. Or, he's a crook, hate him. So I could win just as a default candidate. I'd like to win because I'm the best candidate, but I won't be totally offended if I win just as a matter of default.
Well, the thing is, obviously, Mary Jane, you got a serious plan. You know all the players. You know your town. You've built and brought stuff to I call it community organizing, but as a businesswoman and everything else like that. I think, if I was here, I'd be voting for you.
Well, there's time for you to move. Come on down to Bridgeport.
I gotta hang where I am because I gotta get Passero in. Same reasons. I got similar reasons, just like you have. For the fellow that I have running up there, and I expect he'll be there. And I got about 2 minutes right now, Dominic.
So you want to know who's coming up?
So you know what I need to know? See how fast this time goes?
Yes, it does.
It goes boom.
It just flew by.
Flies by, right? We got to know who's
we got next week down here. We're going to be having my mayor, Ben Blake, who's going to come on our show. Up and live in New London this Thursday, we got Robin Porter, who's a state representative and vice chair of appropriations, coming on to discuss race relations, as well as the excessive force bill that passed in the special legislative session. So we got an interesting few shows.
We got an interesting few shows. Right. I love it when we got mayors or mayor candidates on from all over, so I can compare them. Well, it is stir it up. Yeah, local people got to get out and vote. Whatever you got to do is
absolutely
you got to get out and vote. Okay, that vote is the most important thing. And our elections today seem very, very close in all areas. But your local representative and your local leadership right now in this country is probably more important than who's governor, okay? Because it's going to affect your town, your home. What I really like about one of the great things that you talk about is keeping it home. Business, shop at home, deal at home, and stuff like that. That is key to the development of your economic structure where you live. And sometimes it might be a little more money, okay, at times, but the importance of
in
what
the end, it all stays in the
it all
community.
stays in the community, okay? And
All the votes rise.
all the votes rise. Look at like that. I got a minute. Dominic, good to see you. Mary-Jane.
Thank you all.
It was a pleasure meeting.
And I
Thank
will
you very
get you
much.
back, whether win or lose. I want to get you
I
back.
would be happy to come back.
So we've talked, and God bless you all out there. You know, as I always say, pray for me. I'll pray for you. Father needs tons of prayers to keep him straight. Okay? See you next week.
All right. Thank you. Pleasure.
Pleasure.